There are moments when a woman looks at a man and feels something special between us. There is admiration in his gaze, interest in his voice. It's as if he recognizes something deep, rare, alive in you. You feel that you are his inspiration, his joy, his inner spring. And you reveal yourself in your sincerity, your generosity, your attentiveness. No games, no masks, the real thing. But after a while, silence comes. He no longer writes first, not looking for a meeting, distances himself. And in you wakes up pain, anxiety, despair. You ask yourself, what's my fault? You were kind, open, attentive. You tried. Why is he leaving? The answer is not in logic, but in the unconscious. Carl Jung taught, most of our behaviors and attractions are not driven by reason, but by deep psychic structures, archetypes, shadows, projections. We fall in love not with a person, but with the reflection of our own soul in another. And if this reflection becomes too clear, understandable, accessible, the magic disappears. A man loses interest not because you're bad, but because his inner hunter no longer feels the challenge, the mystery, the enigma. You haven't done anything wrong. But you may have broken one of the subtle unconscious laws that Jung warned about. A woman is not only a person, she is an archetype, a symbol, a mystery. And if she removes the veil too quickly, if she gives herself away without letting the man invest, without leaving space for projections, she loses not only her power, but also her magnetism. So today we're going to talk about 5 unconscious mistakes that even mature, intelligent, spiritually developed women make. Mistakes that cause a man to leave, even if you had a genuine connection. And the first of these concerns the very nature of feminine energy. You become an effortless gift, not a mystery you want to solve. And so you sit in silence, going over every encounter, every word in your head, trying to find the very moment he began to fade away. But in these reflections, you're only looking at the surface. Jung said that the truth about us is hidden not in logic, but in symbols. That which is not realized, but governs our destinies. It is there, in the shadows of your intentions, in the depths of your kindness and desire to be needed, hides what a man unconsciously feels and from which he begins to distance himself. Sometimes it seems to a woman, if I give him everything, my tenderness, my sincerity, my warmth, he will appreciate it. But the unconscious is not subject to moral expectations. A man has other mechanisms at work. He is an archetypal seeker, hunter, conqueror. He needs the space between himself and his target to trigger the dopamine chain of desire. And if you've opened all the doors at once, if he hasn't made a move to earn you, he feels an inner emptiness rather than gratitude. That's why the first mistake is not that you love, but that you become a gift without effort. The first mistake is that you become a gift without effort. The archetype of desire is extinguished in predictability. Love itself is a great feeling. But Carl Jung warned when the unconscious is not included, when relationships are built only out of conscious goodness and logic, they lose depth. A man may be outwardly infatuated, but inwardly he grows cold. Why? Because you become the ready answer to all his desires too soon. It's like you're picking the fruit before he's had a chance to climb the tree. And without a path, without effort, without investment, no value is born. The male unconscious reacts not to your availability, but to mystery. The anima is the female archetype in the male soul, not the one who is there for you and on call 24/7, but the one who leads, inspires, but stays a little over the horizon. It's not about coldness, it's about inner depth. When you reveal yourself gradually, chapter by chapter, he doesn't just get the woman, he experiences the story. And if the story is too short, he doesn't have time to fall in love with her. You give everything, your warmth, your attention, your emotions, your body. You hope it will cause affection, as if you lit all the lights in the house to make him cozy. But a man doesn't fall in love with ready-made spaces. He falls in love with the search, the journey, the feeling that not everything is decided. The sooner you give him everything, the sooner his psyche shuts down access to attraction. He feels no inner need to conquer. His anima, his unconscious, finds no continuation of its mystery. Jung said, "What a man arrives at without labor, he unconsciously devalues." And this applies not only to things, but also to people. So if you strive to be around too quickly, if you want to prove your worth by deeds, words and attention, you stop being a woman you want to pursue. You become a woman who you can just be around. But this state is comfortable only a mature man who has passed the way to his own integrity. And such, few. If you want to be a woman who falls in love, take your time. Let him invest. Let him feel that you are not a result, but a path. Not a gift, but a mystery. Let his unconscious self turn on the impulse to hunt. Because love is not an instantaneous exchange of energy. It's a ritual of opening the soul. And someone who hasn't traveled the path to you can't stay close to you. Now let's dive deeper into the second mistake a woman falls into without even noticing. She becomes not a lover, but a mother. The second mistake is you become not a lover but a mother. The archetype of the mother displaces the anima. At first it seems to be caring. You wonder how he slept. You make him dinner, iron his shirts, listen to him complain after a hard day. You think this is how intimacy is built, how coziness is created, how the bond is strengthened. But according to Jung, a much deeper and more dangerous archetype is awakening here, the archetype of the Great Mother. And as soon as this unconscious image is activated in a relationship, love begins to crumble. A man, in whom you cause an association with the maternal presence, can no longer unconsciously see in you his anima, the one that inspires, excites, ignites. He begins to feel that he is being looked after, as if he is once again a boy being helped to cope with life. And the archetype of the anima requires not tutelage, but fascination, mystery, challenge. In man lives the desire to become a hero, not an object of care. Jung said that the mother archetype can be both nurturing and consuming. If a woman unconsciously enters the role of savior, endlessly wooing, listening and anticipating, she becomes the very shadow of the mother from whom the man wants to be free. Not because she is bad, but because he instinctively feels, I no longer grow near her. I'm uninspired, I'm swaddled. And that's when the detachment, the irritation, the coldness starts. The woman is shocked because she gave love, warmth, comfort. And the man escapes, because he unconsciously feels that he has been deprived of his masculine function, to conquer, to protect, to achieve. And this becomes not just an energetic conflict, it becomes an inner rejection of the relationship. Jung emphasized that every man must go through the path of individuation, to become a whole person. And if a woman takes over a man's task of caring, she stops his growth. Even if she does it with love. So it's important to remember, you can be an inspiration, but not a substitute. You can be warm, but not controlling. You can be close, but not superior. True intimacy is not about doing for him, but inspiring him to do for himself. Not to tell him the way, but to trust that he will find it. Not to ask every day how he feels, but to be the one beside whom he feels strong. That's the only way the anima stays alive, not supplanted by the mother archetype. Now let's move on to the third mistake, one of the most destructive to yourself, when you sacrifice yourself for him and lose your inner support. The third mistake, you lose your life for him. Betraying yourself and abandoning your inner center. It starts almost imperceptibly. You cancel your girlfriend so you can spend the evening with him. You skip the gym because he's in a bad mood. You stop writing, painting, dreaming because he is now your meaning, your purpose, your center. You call it love. And Carl Jung would call it a rejection of the self, the inner core of your personality, which is above all roles, relationships, and expectations. When a woman sacrifices herself for a man, she appears to be giving up love. But in essence, she is giving up herself. She reshapes her desires to fit his moods, her plans to fit his schedule, her energy to fit his needs. She loses touch with her own soul and begins to revolve around the other person as if the planet has lost gravity. Jung wrote that the self is wholeness, the axis, the inner truth. And if you stop living your life for the sake of being needed by another, you destroy that axis. It may look like a perfect relationship on the outside, but inside you're disappearing. And a man can feel it. He instinctively grasps that the woman is no longer a separate world, no longer radiating energy, no longer breathing freedom. She's become a background. And backgrounds don't attract. Backgrounds don't inspire. They are simply not noticed. A man doesn't fall in love with someone who looks at him with 24/7 adoration, but with someone who has a life that he wants to touch, someone who is filled with something more than a relationship, someone who has a light that is independent of him, because that's what the energy of attraction is all about. Once you lose your individuality, you lose your magnetism. A woman who has no center of gravity ceases to be a challenge to a man's soul. Jung emphasized the importance of the balance between the animus, the inner masculine, and the anima. And if you allow man to be your only meaning, you are suppressing your own inner power. And man, as paradoxical as it sounds, doesn't want to be your god. He wants to be with a woman who has her own temple, her own faith, her own sun. A woman who lives her life like a rare book. You want to read it, leaf through it, go back. A woman who gave up everything for a man, like a newspaper that has been flipped through and forgotten. Brutal, but honest. And if you want a man to respect you, desire you, cherish you, you have to have your own orbit that you're moving in, even if he disappears. Now let's move on to the most subtle trap, the fourth mistake women make even when they try to be sincere. They reveal themselves too quickly, destroying their mystery. The fourth mistake is that you reveal yourself too quickly, destroying the anime archetype through an excess of candor. You think honesty is the bridge to a man's heart. That true intimacy is impossible without complete honesty. A man talking about the past, pain, fears, former relationships, childhood traumas. It seems that if you show yourself real, without masks, he will realize how deep, vulnerable, sincere you are. But at that moment you do not notice how you cease to be a mystery and turn into an open book. And a man, as Jung wrote, falls in love not with facts, but with an image, with a myth, with an inner symbol. The archetype of anime is not a stream of confession or a desire to show one's vulnerability. It is the mysterious inner woman that a man unconsciously seeks in himself and in others. When you start pouring out your soul too soon, you kill the very magnetism in you that kept his attention. You don't get closer, you get predictable. And predictability for the male psyche equals emotional indifference. Jung emphasized that the unconscious requires ritual. A gradual unfolding, a symbolic movement toward the center. And when a woman reveals everything about her in 3 meetings, the man has no way out. His archetypal search is over before it even begins. He finds no space in you for his projections, for his hunting, for his fantasy. And he leaves, not because you are bad, but because you are no longer unknown. We are indoctrinated from childhood that we should be ourselves, not be afraid to open up, to say everything as it is. But this is a conscious attitude. And the unconscious is organized differently. It needs fog, half-tones, pauses. Real intimacy is not a confession. It's energy. It's an attraction that can be felt in silence, in a look, in mystery. A woman who has an understatement does not repel, she mesmerizes. And here lies the main subtlety. If you strive to be honest, learn to be honest that not everything should be told at once. Sometimes the greatest show of respect for yourself is the ability to keep quiet. To leave a part of yourself in the shadows. Not because you're playing around, but because you don't have to explain yourself all the way through. It's up to the man to want to get to know you. Gradually. Deeply. With interest, not fatigue. Jung wrote that there must be something in a woman that he doesn't fully understand. It creates tension, not negative tension, but attraction. It turns on unconscious mechanisms, makes you go back mentally, rethink, fantasize. A woman who is all in the palm of your hand is relaxing. But not in a good way. A man feels, I've got it all figured out. And if everything is clear, the mystery disappears. And with it, love disappears. And now we come to the last, the deepest mistake. The one born of fear, mistrust, and inner doubt. Fifth mistake, you start looking for a catch, projecting your shadow onto a man. Fifth mistake, you look for a catch, projecting your own shadow onto a man. You feel like everything is going well, and that's what starts to scare you. What if it's too beautiful, too peaceful, too harmonious to be true? And then you start digging into his words, looking for double meanings, listening to intonations, reading between the lines. Subconsciously, you turn on your radar. What if he's lying? What if he doesn't appreciate you? What if he's just playing around? But all you see isn't him. It's your own shadow, as Carl Jung called it. It's the parts of you that you haven't accepted, healed, recognized. The doubts, the anxiety, the fear of being abandoned, unworthy, betrayed, none of that is about him. It is the inner voice, the voice of pain, the experience of past wounds that is now being provoked onto the other person as a mirror. Jung said, what we don't realize in ourselves, we meet as fate outwardly. The man you begin to unconsciously place expectations, suspicion, and control on, feels it on a body level. Even if you are silent, your energy changes. You are no longer light, no longer alive, no longer real. You're on alert. And he picks up on that anxiety without even realizing where it's coming from. Inside he has a defense going on, shut down, withdraw, avoid the pressure. You think you just want honesty. But in reality, you don't believe you're worthy of calm, mature love. You're waiting for a catch, and by doing so, you're provoking it. That's the shadow trap. You fear pain, and unconsciously create scenarios in which pain becomes inevitable. To confirm your unconscious belief, I was not chosen again. When you look for proof of his feelings, you don't actually believe in yours. When you check, you don't trust yourself. And once control replaces flow, love becomes a strategy. And the man feels that he is not accepted, that he is not believed, that he is being tested. And he withdraws, not from the woman, but from the energy in which he feels guilty for no reason. Jung taught, only through acceptance of one's own shadow, is true intimacy possible. Don't analyze a man's every move, don't speculate, don't look for a catch where there isn't one. Instead, ask yourself the question, what exactly am I afraid to see? And you'll find that the struggle isn't with him. It's within you. Ease doesn't mean naivety. It's maturity. It's the power to be yourself without fear of being cheated. It's a calmness that says, if it's mine, it stays. A woman who trusts herself and the flow of life becomes a magnet. Not because she doesn't feel pain, but because she doesn't run away from it, doesn't shift it to a man, but meets it with respect for herself. And now, having dismantled all 5 unconscious traps that even a wise woman can fall into, we are approaching the most important thing, what really attracts a man at the level of the soul, instinct, unconscious. What awakens in him the desire to follow you, to keep you, to choose you, again and again. Many women try to please, to deserve, to please. They think that if they are perfect, kind, caring, beautiful, understanding, the man will stay. But Jung said, relationships are not built on trying to be wanted, they are built on the mutual attraction of the unconscious. And this attraction cannot be faked or forcibly induced. It arises when a woman lives in contact with herself, with the inner center, with a sense of wholeness. A man is unconsciously attracted not to the one who waits, freezing at his door, but to the one who has her own way, her own goals, her own interests. Someone who has enough inner maturity to choose rather than cling. He feels, next to her, he wants to grow. She doesn't need him, she chooses him. And that's the key. Because one of the strongest archetypes of the male psyche is to be chosen. You can be beautiful, but if your energy is begging, he'll feel pressured. You can be kind, but if your kindness is out of fear of being abandoned, he'll feel you're dependent. You can be caring, but if your caring is a way to earn love, he'll run away. A man doesn't walk away from a woman, he walks away from his feeling in her field. From anxiety, expectation, tension, trying to hold on. But a woman who is full of herself doesn't need, she radiates. She doesn't give too much because she knows the measure. She doesn't prove her worth because she lives in that worth. She doesn't run for attention because she has her own light. And it's that light that a man feels. He can't explain it, but he's drawn to it. Because in her presence he becomes closer to himself, to his strength, to his wholeness. Jung said that love is not a merger, but a path to individuation. 2 whole people walking side by side without losing themselves. A woman who flies on her own path without turning around every 5 seconds, and he follows me. That's admirable. A man wants to be close to the one who walks. Who is alive, real, not built for him, but open to life. He doesn't fall in love with words. He falls in love with his state of being with you. He remembers not your confessions, but his emotions when you were around. He does not analyze, but unconsciously captures. With you he feels light, easy, deep. Or heavy, anxious and pressurized. And he chooses not the woman, but the feeling she gives him. Do you want a man to not be able to forget you? Stop being predictable, comfortable, right. Start being real. Don't be afraid to be busy, don't be afraid to say no, don't be afraid to disappear from his comfort zone. Let him ask himself questions. Let him search, think, feel anxious. It's not a game. It's not manipulation. It's the energy of choice. You are not a passerby in his life. You're a phenomenon. And when he realizes that you don't cling, don't need, don't demand, and just live brightly and freely, he'll want to do more than just be around you. He'll want to be chosen by you. And this is man's deepest unconscious desire. If you recognize yourself in these words, it's no reason to blame yourself. It's a wake-up call. Each of us has been wrong once, dissolved, given away too quickly, looking for love in the eyes of another, forgetting to look inside. But you have the power to change all that. The power to be a woman who doesn't ask for love, but radiates it. Who isn't afraid to be herself. Who isn't afraid to lose because she's already found herself. If you like this breakdown, give me a like so that I know that these topics are important to you. Subscribe to the channel. There will be more videos in the future, where we will figure out together how to get out of pain, regain inner strength, and attract love without playing, without fighting, without losing yourself. And please share in the comments what was the most powerful thought in this video for you. It helps me create content that is truly needed. And remember, you're not there to beg, you're there to choose. See you in my next few videos.